Okay. Do you see the prompt?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right. This means our video has now started recording, and now we're about to get into our talk. So, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Data Shift. My name is Miss Aura, and today I'm joined by an incredible panel of thought leaders. We have Mr. Chikoto, Edward Chikoto, who is the operations manager for Utande, who's also an ICT expert who knows everything about IoT connectivity, everything you could possibly need to know about getting online and functioning on the internet. Mr. Chikoto is our guy. We're also joined by Mr. Graduate Simonya, who is a big data analyst and also a digital marketer and who runs his own digital agency. And we also have Tinashe, who is coming in as a digital marketer, who also is the founder of Social Me, which is a creative agency. So good morning, everybody, and welcome to the talk. I'm just going to give a few points on what our discussion's about. As I said, the discussion is called the data shift. And our topic today is around big data and connectivity and how it's going to be the key to driving economic survival during and post COVID-19. As you know, COVID-19 has brought the world to a screeching halt. For a long time, people thought that it was going to be technology that would bring all the change, that machines are going to take over all our jobs, and that's what's going to throttle us into the fourth industrial revolution. But no one saw COVID-19 coming. And it's so unfortunate how the global pandemic has brought the world to its knees, and especially the global economy, never mind the Zimbabwean economy as well as the rest of Africa. So this puts us in a position where we have to now adjust and shift, and realizing that big data and connectivity are actually the underlying keys to a successful economic revival. Without internet, it's going to be really hard to create remote working situations, to create cloud computing systems that allow people to function with very minimal human contact. Without access to quality data, it's going to be very hard to make informed decisions. And right now, we cannot rely on meeting in actual physical spaces. So we have no choice but to rely on data and connectivity to carry our economy going forward. So I would like to invite Mr. Chikoto. Good morning.
Morning, Aura. Thank you for having me here.
It's exciting to be e-meeting with you like this and to be having this discussion.
Yes.
Mr. Chikoto, I would love to know your thoughts. I'd like for you to weigh in. What is your position on big data and connectivity? And do you really think that it is key to keeping our economy afloat?
Thank you once again. It is quite exciting, Aura, to participate in a discussion like this, where we are talking about the future. Our discussion obviously is anchored on the future of society, the future of business, and the future of mankind. And like you rightly put it, this discussion is necessitated by the events that we saw happening in 2020, the COVID-19 pandemic, which in its own way has managed to bring forward what we thought we still had time to prepare.
Right.
We were not prepared at individual level. Most were relying on internet at the office. You just wake up early, get into the office, you knock off late, and sometimes you just get into the office on a weekend to catch up. And you
Yeah.
also realize that most companies, because of what we are going through in our economy, we're actually scaling down on their connectivity. We saw some companies who were now limiting internet connectivity to just the executives, a few essential staff, and everyone else was now being put on email. This is what was happening. We never envisaged that a business processes should fully be done through an IT system, because we just use our face-to-face interactions, and we meet and we do business. We also never anticipated that we need to talking to all our suppliers, talking to all our customers, and having them connected. This is a rude awakening for everyone. It was a rude awakening for everyone. Then you see now the total rapid and disruptive migration that happened because of the lockdown, where everyone now was asked to work from home. We saw a lot of shifts. But I must commend a few companies that I've seen. They managed to stay afloat. Now we're seeing people ordering groceries online. We saw
Right.
banks. They kept on encouraging us to use our mobile money, our online banking, obviously, because as an economy, we haven't had cash in a long time. so
Yeah. Yeah.
so we have been pushed to get ready and to prepare ourselves and be ready to operate without visiting the bank. But yes, probably maybe before I get to answer your question, I just want to touch on our responsibilities as businesses. While we're discussing the survival, while we're discussing the importance of big data and connectivity, there is a responsibility that we have as businesses during this pandemic to make sure that our active participation in tailing the pandemic is notable, and that we all work towards making sure that society goes back to functioning as normally as possible. That
Right.
in its way will then be talking about businesses into the future. We talk about the requirements that are coming up after the lockdown, during the lockdown, so that the economy can get back to functioning again. There are things that we have noted that are coming up that are quite important for business to continue to survive. You mentioned big data. Obviously, there is a big shift now that has to happen. And for some organizations, it has already started happening. The use of big data analytics to make sure that every business operation is optimized, making sure that you target your specific customers, making sure that any product that you push on the market, you are pushing the right product, you are pushing it to the right customers, making sure that customer satisfaction, customer experience is improved. And you all need that big data analytics to make sure that you do the right things. I'm sure my colleagues here on the panel who are experts in big data analytics will concur with me that this is now the reality of what we are facing. Obviously, with what has been brought about by work from home, you realize that cloud computing has become key. Everyone needs to access the resources from wherever they are, be they the customers, be they the staff, be they the suppliers, all the stakeholders of the business. They need to access that, and you need to have your systems on the cloud. And while we're talking about all this, the underlying thread becomes connectivity. You need to be connected. We need our communities to be connected. We need our businesses to be connected. And we need to embrace connectivity as the bedrock that will drive this economy. We need ICTs to be the bedrock that drives this economy, because without that, there is nothing else that we can do. The only business that I've managed to do something during this program, you realize that we are now having this discussion online. If there was no connectivity, there was not going to be anything.
Yeah.
Yes, online collaborations, your video calls like this, your voice over IP, and all those other collaboration now what is defining the business in this new normal. So underlying it, connectivity. E-learning, I was talking to someone who is a teacher, and they've already started talking to parents. They are sending notes. They are trying to create chat groups with parents to make sure that students at least can continue to do something. That rudimentary connectivity, even on WhatsApp, but you realize the requirement that is there is really, once we have connectivity, once we have everyone aligned in through ICTs, the economy can expect. So that is what I can.
No, I am completely in agreement with you. I think it's interesting also in this environment where now we're forced to work from home. It also shows how a lot of people were not prepared. Not just businesses that weren't prepared, but individuals were not prepared that, I can't just now even just go into town and hopefully catch on to a, a free Wi-Fi network. I can't just be roaming about, also trying to create a conducive environment at home where people have families and children, and people who knock on the door, and it's really difficult. It's causing us to become very human. I'll refer to Jack Ma, who says one of the most important skills we're going to have to develop, as much as there's technology involved, is LQ, is being human, being understanding. We being conscious of the fact that we are all living a very involved and connected lives, and it forces us to be patient. Whereas in face to face, if I say to you, I need this document now, you have no choice but to get it, because I can see you and I can see all you have to do is do this. But now, you must consider a young mother who maybe is breastfeeding and can't send you the document right now because she's at home. So it's interesting the points that you've raised. It's also interesting the problems that it's created. I'd like to call in, you spoke about big data, and I'd like to call in Edward. Edward, are you there? Oh, sorry, graduate. Graduate.
Yes, I'm around. I'm there.
Okay, all right. Mr. Chikoto raised the issue of big data and how important it is for companies to be able to know who their demographics are, who the businesses are, and how their customers operate. Can we talk a little bit about big data? Could you, first of all, it's a really big term for a lot of people. They're like, what is big data? Does it refer to terabytes and gigabytes? What is big data? Could you just dumb it down for us?
Okay, before I go to defining big data or talk about big data, there's a statement which Mr. Chikoto spoke about when he spoke about preparedness. Hello? Yes. Now, there's a statement which is attributed to Warren Buffett when he said, only when the tide goes out do you discover who's been swimming naked. Now, if you look at the situation that we are in at the moment, we have businesses which had ignored connectivity, which had ignored issues of cloud computing and the like. Now we are now forced to work from home. People are forced to be doing business out of the office and the like. Now, for those who have not done that well, you will discover that they are found naked in such situations. So that's a very big challenge that you find with our current situation in our current environment. Now, when you speak of big data, before I come back to big data again, one key element that you also find is the value of connectivity. Why? Because when you're talking of big data, you are talking of the data that is accumulated online because of our activities that are happening online. You will notice that most of our business, not only our business, but our social lives are happening online, right? You have social media. When you have any challenge, any social situations, you are going to go for a Google search, you're going for search engines and like. So all those things that creates data which is available online, right? The searches that we have, our posts online, our everything that we are doing, our activities that we are doing online, our purchases, our e-commerce and like, we are saying all that information when it's collected or it's being collected by someone. Actually, I was watching a documentary recently this week, and one of the presenters was actually saying that we thought that we were searching Google, but we didn't discover that Google was the one which was searching us.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, we were posting on Facebook and searching Facebook and everything, but we didn't discover that as Facebook was collecting all that information, what it did is it was able to discover what kind of people we are, how we do business and how we do everything. So when now Facebook is now using that information to help marketers to target us, that then becomes business to them. But how did they get that? They got that through the collection of all the data that is happening. And that is what we then call big data. It becomes big in the sense that there is so much of data which is available online. Interesting when you look at the Trump campaign, the last Trump campaign, I think you realize there was talk about Cambridge Analytica. It went to the Senate and everything. There was so much discussions about that. But one key element about that is it was discovered that the Cambridge Analytica guys were able to get at least about 5,000 data points or 5,000 attributes of a person of an individual from the data that they had posted on social media. Now, if I'm going to then describe you using 5,000 attributes, then it means I know everything about you. And some of the things you might not even be able to know yourself about yourself. So when we are talking about big data now, we are saying all that information is now available online, right? So it then means that for companies, for you to be able to target your customers, for you to be able to do any other thing that you would want to do in terms of your positioning of your brand, most of the other things that you would do to relate with your customers, you can get some of this information to help you in terms of segmenting your market, in terms of targeting your people. In fact, we have moved from just broad targeting to specific targeting and to go as much as personalization. Right? Where someone can come to you and they'll bring a product which is something that you have been expecting or you've been looking for. Why? Because there is that element where someone has done a study of your data. But the analytics element now come in. Why? Because with our human minds, we can't be able to analyze that data. Now, imagine if I'm to analyze 5,000 data points about yourself, then I'll go to Mr. Chikoto, I'll go to Tinashe. I don't think it will be. It's something that is possible from my individual abilities. But what that means is now you need some techniques, you need some algorithms, you need some systems which will then be involved in that process. So that's where you then have big data analytics coming in to help you to then do those analytics, and you come up with insights from there. So the main issue about big data or the strength of big data is when you are able to pick the few relevant information about a specific market. Now, how then how is this now the COVID issue going to relate with big data? Now, you realize maybe it's a portion of Zimbabwe which was very much active online and the like, right? Because the people will say, I'm not on social media because of 1, 2, 3 reasons, right?
Yeah.
But now we are all forced to be online.
Right.
One, because you are forced to be working from home. Two, you are forced to be looking for news online and things like that. So almost every one of us is getting the information, whether it's COVID information, it's information about your workplace, or it's communication which you are supposed to be doing because you still have to be operating. And you realize because most of us were not prepared, we have to look at options that are available. People were to go to Zoom, some had to go to Skype, and there's so many other options which you had to force yourself to get to for you to be able to work from home. And because we're not prepared, we're not told, okay, we are going to do lockdown in 2 months, so everyone prepare for lockdown. It just came in, just like on Monday there will be a lockdown. So you were to prepare in a week, and in a week, if you didn't have internet, you then had to come up with solutions. The good thing about the payment site is obviously the fact that we were not using cash for some time, so that one was covered. The issue of internet connectivity becomes key. That becomes key and it becomes very important. So, and also in terms of businesses, the element of coming up with e-commerce applications has to come in. How are you going to survive? Why? Because if you don't do well, or if you don't do well in this period, I'm very sure most companies or a number of companies will close. The same way that people who were struggling in terms of their health are said to be more susceptible to COVID-19. I'm sure also business which were not also doing so well are also susceptible to this 21-day period. Because if you're not going to be making money for 21 days, it can be a challenge after the COVID, after the lockdown.
Now, you've raised a really interesting point, graduate. You've raised an interesting point around how companies are supposed to take advantage of big data, for example. Most companies, I think I can say this with a pinch of salt, their digital departments or their IT departments were focused mostly on social media. Do you think we have the skill sets, number one, to take advantage of something like big data? Number two, do we do we have the capacity now how do businesses now scale up their IT or the digital departments, considering the environment that we're in, considering that cash flow and income has already been threatened by what's happening with COVID-19? How do you build a team at a time like this? Do you need to build a team? Do you just need to use solutions online? What works best in a scenario like this? I'd like to pose this question both to you, graduate, and to you, Mr. Chikoto. Maybe, Mr. Chikoto, you can attack that one first, and graduate can catch his breath.
Okay, thanks, Laura. To be frank, I don't think all the companies in this country are prepared right now to go full on with big data. However, we do have quite a number of consulting firms that are playing in that space. And you don't necessarily need every company to set up its own department to deal with big data. But there are a lot of tools that can be used. This is where you can outsource. You can be working with an outfit which is anywhere in the world. As long as you are properly connected, they can assist and you can be able to get the metrics that you want out of your big data. Yes,
Right.
in terms of preparedness, that is a big challenge. And you also raised an important part when we talk about the demographics, we talk about our people. Our market in Zimbabwe is, again, that's one thing that we need to be aware of. The market that we are trying to target, information that we gather from some probably not very sources, is that we are talking about 100,000 customers. If you look at what is happening in terms of connectivity wise, that's both your home and businesses. And out of that 100,000 active people on the internet, probably half of them can pay high-end price. So whatever investment, whatever activity that the business is doing is again something that needs to be watched to say, whilst you are developing a product, is it going to be a product that is consumed locally only? And what is your potential market? Is it a product that can also be consumed beyond borders? And what is the potential market? Now with big data, you can be able to optimize your operations, optimize your product, make it available and make it suit the requirements of people who are even beyond borders. These are opportunities, these are challenges. They just need to be handled on in that manner.
Okay. Graduate, would you like to weigh in on that?
Yeah, I think I would agree with what Mr. Scott has said. In terms of the skill set, yes, you would need to develop, but it's not every company which has to have big data analysts or people who are so much well versed in terms of that. But the good thing that you find with the fact that we are saying big data is mainly online data, right? So the advantage that you have is it also then exposes you to all the skills around the world. So that gives you the advantage, because what you simply need is someone who can be able to mine the data, and after mining the data, then do the analysis of that data. So I think that will not be much of a big limitation. But although you would also need maybe some local experts within in terms of that area, so that you also have localized solutions which can work for the industry around you.
Okay. I think this is where we can bring Tinashe in. Tinashe, are you there?
Hi guys, how are you doing?
Good. How's it going?
It's going quite well. I'm enjoying the conversation so far.
Fantastic. So, Tinashe Nyarwanga, as I had said, you are the founder of Social Me Agency, and that's basically a creative agency, and your strength lies in digital marketing. Both Mr. Chikoto and Mr. Zimunya have raised some interesting points around understanding what your market requires and how you can adopt the necessary tools in order to speak to your clients, in order to keep your business running. In your experience around digital marketing, how best does a business sit down and see and basically know how to cope in an environment like this, how to engage with consumers and how to engage with their workers? What are your thoughts on that?
Thank you very much. It's a very loaded question, but I think for me, the main thing it's more than just being about social. In fact, when you talk about social, a lot of people start to think about Facebook, Twitter, and those social platforms, but it's more than that. I think the whole thing here goes way beyond social media and digital marketing. I think you're looking at digital disruption. You're talking about your digital transformation, and I think a lot of organizations are going to find it a bit difficult, because I think the whole disruption that is happening as a result of COVID-19 will really force companies to relook at every aspect of how they've been doing business, because you're not just talking about your 9 to 5 anymore, but you're talking about a lifestyle change. You're talking about changing your system so that they are geared towards organizations achieving productivity. So what you're going to see going forward after the lockdown and so on is that you're going to have more and more companies. You're going to have more and more companies, adopting that mindset where they're saying, you know what, let's gear our organization so that we can actually save costs. Because like right now, companies are actually realizing that, you know what, you can actually save costs, you can actually do more, and so on. The other thing I think, that is actually quite important is that there's going to be a mindset shift, because I think there are a number of changes that are coming our way. The number one thing is that there's going to be movement from synchronous collaboration to asynchronous collaboration. What do I mean by that?
Break that down into layman's terms.
What I mean by that is that, the collaboration as it happens in our workplace at this moment is that we work together physically and we work together at the same time. Now, two things are going to happen is that, number one, we are going to work separately. Like right now, people are working separately. They are collaborating in different places. So that in itself brings its own challenges. Then secondly, organizations and people are going to work in different time zones. So you find that people will collaborate, but they'll not collaborate at the same time, but they'll collaborate maybe in different times. Because you'd find that someone, they do their best work maybe midnight. I happen to be privileged that, in that I'm able to. I work in a creative sort of like industry, where I work with creatives and so on. So you'd find that, my videographer might actually, like working at midnight, when there are less distractions and so on. Something which is difficult to do when you're working from 9 to 5. So those are some of the things that are going to happen now. Like just recently, just this morning, I was reading a tweet, and in that tweet, it was talking about the market capitalization for Zoom versus airline industries. So you'd find that in 2019.
Oh, I think we've lost Tinashe. Hello, are you there? Oh, okay. It seems we've lost Tinashe. Very interesting points that he was raising there. I would be interested to see the tweet. Tinashe, are you back? Oh, I think we've lost him. Graduate, are you there?
Yes, I'm there.
To achieve everything that I was talking about. You talk about, Teams, you can use it for video conferencing and so on. So I think when we look at this question, it's more than just digital. It's more than that. Sorry, social media. But you are saying, you know, how do we come up with our organization? How do we restructure our organization so that it's geared towards, you know, working remotely? So that's something that is going.
Oh dear, it looks like we've just lost Tinashe. But basically what he was saying, if I can weigh in on what he was saying quickly around, it's not just about social media, but it's understanding that all the tools that are available to you as an organization and how you can utilize them to best speak to your audience as well as to your teams. Tinashe, do we have you back?
Yeah, sorry about that.
Okay,
I'm back.
sure. Would you like to wrap up your point?
Well, yeah. So I was saying, you know, it's a lot to do with that. Then maybe I just want to speak towards, you know, things to do with how big data, digital marketing, and you know, the digital transformation will work. You know, I think it's very, very important to understand that most of the decisions that are going to happen and that organizations need to take would really need depend on, you know, things like data. How are you using data, and how you manipulate data, and how you analyze data, even for social media as well. You know, right now, as you look at organizations in Zimbabwe, you know, most of the things that they do are based on gut feel, you know, intuition. Whilst that's good, it also needs to be supplemented by, you know, your data and so on. And there are a number of tools as well that are available for Zimbabwean and global companies
Right.
that people are not utilizing. You know, Google has a whole array of products which are free, but a lot of organizations right now, if you ask them if they make use of tools such as, you know, your Google Analytics, you know, to just see the number of people coming to their websites, you'd find that very few do that. And then, but a tool like Google Analytics is actually very, very powerful because you can create audiences for remarketing and retargeting and so on. You know, which are tools, which are things that we're not doing, but we should be doing. You know, even when you look at, you know, things like Facebook, running your Facebook ads, when you talk to most organizations and most businesses right now, they'll ask you that, can you boost an ad and so on. I think, you know, boosting an ad, it's one of the easiest things to do. But when you actually look at the process that of, you know, like maybe running an ad on Facebook, you see that even the way that they've structured, you know, that process, it's really trying to nudge you so that you actually get to use your website a lot more as well, you know, because, you know, you have options of using your Facebook pixel, which is simply a piece of code that you can put on your website. So I think, digitally speaking, I think we still have a long way to go in terms of where and what we need to do to become truly digital organizations. You know, or to be honest, there's a lot that we can talk about when we begin to speak about this subject. You know, I haven't even, you know, scratched the surface. I mean,
The surface. Yeah.
you know,
I
because,
totally
you
hear
know, there are
you.
things like, yeah, you know, things like then security, you know, as you begin to work more from home and remotely, you know, hackers will also get to work, you know, because
Yes.
you know, because your systems are exposed, you know, because if you're using Gmail, it's much easier to hack a Gmail account than to hack an encrypted email, you know. So
Yeah.
I guess, you know, that's when, you know, even platforms such as, you know, your Microsoft Office 365, you know, because you can now have enhanced security features, you know, like your two-factor authentication and so on, which I'm excited because Dandemutande also provides. So there's a whole lot, you know. You know, when you begin to talk about digital transformation, it's a whole different game altogether.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you for raising those points. I think we can all agree both with Mr. Chikoto and Mr. Zimunya, that these are very relevant points that have been raised and quite practical as well. If you'll allow me, as you were speaking, I'd like to share a few tweets that were shared. 2 days ago, we had a tweet chat on 2 days ago, we had a tweet chat on the data shift where we just asked people what they feel Zimbabwean businesses need to do in order to survive during this period. So I'm going to whip up my Twitter and I want to share some of the things that really sort of resonate with what you were busy saying. Everyone was saying. One was around a notable this is from Douglas Mapuranga, who says a notable problem is that organizations try to do everything on their own. You get an IT resource and expect him or her to resolve word problems right up to AI. It's not possible. The answer lies in outsourcing. Another one says, which spoke more specifically to what you're saying, Tinashe, and this is from Keith Mube, who says, it goes without saying that there are many tools available online that enable workers to carry out their normal work tasks from home, and all they need is reliable internet connectivity to give them access to their virtual offices. Now, a big issue that you've also raised is the issue of security. Security at a time like this is also, I feel like we should have changed our title to big data, connectivity, and cybersecurity. Because now that we're shifting everything online, there comes a new problem, which is around hacking and people having access or easier access to your data, particularly with those who don't spend a lot of time online or who aren't necessarily experts in their field. It's quite easy to create a password that anyone can hack. And so there needs to be, I feel, a new level of training. So as we're going into the space of big data, and as we're shifting, right, into the data shift, there also needs to be a more conscious effort to train not just a small group, but your entire workforce on digital etiquette, on digital literacy, as well as communicating with your consumers on how best to engage on a virtual platform and how to protect themselves. I think as we're teaching people how to protect themselves from COVID-19, it should also run in parallel for businesses to teach people how to protect themselves online as we're forced to move into this new digital era. Mr. Chikoto, if I can call you back if you're still there, Mr. Chikoto?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, all right, great. Welcome back. Having heard what both Tinashe and Graduate have had to say, do you feel it started to feel, I started to feel a sense of doom and gloom at some point, like Zimbabwean businesses are now like it's the end of the world for us because we don't have all of these, we don't have all these tools and the data and the what's and connectivity. Is there a silver lining? Now that we've been thrown into the deep end, do you think we can keep afloat?
Yes, Aura. I do believe that we are sitting on an opportunity, which is a challenge at the same time. What is in the last few days, forcing everyone to work from home has kind of shifted, when we look at internet connectivity, shifted utilization from corporate to the home user. It has awakened people that they need to be connected. They need to be connected for social. They need to be connected for business. And by conscientizing people, by awakening people, it means you are awakening a market that was dormant for quite some time. So the need to satisfy that market is an opportunity that exists. And if you look at connectivity options that are available at the moment, we do have fiber in some places of cities and towns. We do have ADSL available in some towns. We do have 3G, even though it is mostly being just used for social media. Most people just use those. And if you look at the average revenue per user on that market, something like $1 a month or $2 a month, which is not much, but because of all what has happened, you will see those numbers slowly growing, and it is good for business. Once those numbers grow, it means the network service providers can expand their coverage, they can develop more, they can cover more areas, and you can have people connected. Talking about big data, it becomes irrelevant when you are targeting people who are online. You need these people to be visiting sites, to be searching for things, to be buying online, to be communicating online so that you can collect their data. So all those requirements are linked to having the entire society connected. Once society is connected, once everyone is online slowly, but definitely this is something that has to happen, then we can then start to reap the benefits. We can then start to see the meaning of the data that we collect. My colleague Tinashe spoke about a sleepless economy where he was talking about someone working at midnight, someone working a different time zone. These are now all opportunities that are coming up. And with working odd hours, working flexible hours, we are now walking into a space of self-preneurship where employees can now start to consult for more than one company. You don't necessarily have to work your 8 to 5 job. You can pick up another one. You can be consulting for another remote company that is in another geographical area. And we now can be able to start to export some of the skills that we have been sitting on as a nation. So opportunities are there, challenges are there, but like what Nasha rightly says, there is need for a mindset shift so that this is the new normal. This is where we are. We all don't know how soon this COVID-19 is going to be termed. Is it a month? Is it going to be maybe on the 21st, a flip of a pattern, everyone is back to business, but I don't think so. We saw in China, they were out of production for a couple of months trying to fight this. And we see what is happening in other economies where rates of contamination are still going up. So we are not anticipating doom. We are not anticipating that we will be worse off than them. But we're just saying now that we are in this era, we need to be prepared. And we have to be frank about the realities of what is going to happen to people, what is going to happen to business. I was listening to a clip done by, I think it was Dr. Mieza on Twitter when he was saying some companies that have closed now may not be coming back online at all. So these are some of the realities. But for those companies that are managing to operate, we see there are opportunities to optimize, to streamline business activities and focus on the core. Focus on that which is bringing value. And these are opportunities, these are times where businesses look into those things. And it is also up to individuals. You may be working from home, you may not be actively working from home, but you need to demonstrate value in an organization. Because if the organization can realize that the lockdown goes for 3 months and they have not heard from you and you have not contributed anything and the business is still going, then it means you have not managed to demonstrate value in the business. You have not managed to be relevant during these difficult times. So these are moments where individuals redefine themselves, redefine your value, businesses redefine processes, and also refocus on what the activities that bring value to the business. So we are going through a phase, but the phase is a gleaning phase for business, is a gleaning phase for professionals alike. Some people are realizing that what they were doing on a day-to-day 8 to 5 is not exactly what makes them tick. They are rediscovering new talents, they are rediscovering themselves, and they are rediscovering other opportunities that they've probably in a long time just put on a back burner. So these are the things that we are grappling, these are things that we are dealing with. But yes, while everyone is slowly getting into the mood, we need to look into the issues of connectivity. I spoke about fiber, I spoke about ADSL, I spoke about the 3G that is available, but we can also even speak about the VSAT connectivity, which is something that can be deployed anywhere in the country at this moment in time. Because we don't have the luxury to dig fibers and wait for 8 months, wait for 6 months for it to get to every other household. While this we are working on all those things, which is medium to long-term investments, people who need connectivity immediately. These are some of the solutions that they can jump onto immediately, get a visa connection, and then we have seen that happening with a lot of companies where their executives, their essential staff needed connectivity. People quickly get into something that allows them to be connected. So we really need to understand, and we really need to accept that this is the situation that we are in. Tinashe spoke about collaboration. Yes, your Office 365. You also spoke about cybersecurity, which is something that is very key. Most organizations, they build their systems to be accessible only internally. That is the type of security that most people believe in. Make it accessible internally only. No one can access it from outside. But now that we need everyone to access from outside, there is requirement, there is need for making sure that our systems are secure on connectivity and secure on the core. So these are all the realities that we are faced with in this era, but these are things that we can all work together and collaborate and make sure that we make sure the business gets back to operating again.
Very, very relevant points. Thank you so much for sharing that, Mr. Chikoto. I'm going to ask you a question, and it's going to feel like an attack. It might be. And this is specifically as Utande, which is an ISP, an internet service provider. And I'm gonna lead the question with a comment I got. This was through a WhatsApp forum, and I'll leave the name anonymous. But it says, if basic things like mobile data, for example, cost you $50 for 600 megs, it's impossible to sustain. Internet service providers will consider Wi-Fi to be a luxury and not a necessity or a basic human right, which is access to information. A lot of people at the moment are saying it's fantastic that we can now work online and that, this is what we can now be remote. But the fact remains that the cost of data is expensive. The average person, based on what income they earn, cannot actually afford to have a really good enough connection at home to have, for example, a meeting like we're having. And I'll ask you, maybe not on behalf of all ISPs, but maybe as Utande, now that more people need internet, does this mean that the cost could go down? What needs to happen for the cost to drop, for it to become a basic commodity like buying bread? What needs to happen for us to fix that? Otherwise, we will struggle.
That is an interesting question, Ora. It is a chicken and egg question. The rise in utilization of internet that we have seen in the past few days, but that is just a shift, being the rise of internet utilization in homes, and it's a drastic drop in the internet usage in business. So that does not even cancel out the net effect. There is reduction in internet utilization. For internet to become cheaper, we need more people to appreciate that connectivity is key. I spoke about the figure of 100,000 in an economy of statistically 14 million people. But if you look at the people that are actively participating in that economy, people that you target, people that do business, people that are involved in, allow me to say, meaningful economic activities, you're looking at something like probably less than a quarter of that 14. 3.5 million people, and you are talking of out of that 100,000 connections that are out there. The moment you wrap up those figures, you are now talking of 1 million people who are actively connected on sustainable and meaningful broadband connections. It becomes easy to lower the price because you cannot just be dealing with your average revenue per user when you build a network to say this average revenue per user and with this level of investment it becomes sustainable to keep on rolling out networks, keep on rolling out connectivities out there, get everyone connected. But with all that in mind, as a business, we have not stopped, like you rightly say, I will not answer for all internet providers, but as a business, we have not stopped rolling out connectivity in new areas. We are expanding our coverage areas with WiMAX, rolling out LTE. We are connecting up communities with visa connectivity, making sure that in all those remote areas where people are not currently covered by your fiber, your WiMAX or your LTE, there is connectivity. But these are steps that we are taking, and eventually it's not just the growth of ICT connectivity, it is also linked to economic activities within the nation, where incomes of individuals, in household incomes, if they continue to improve, then we can see everyone being able to afford internet. It is our wish that everyone should afford internet connectivity. The American statistics, they talk about an average revenue user pay ARPU of about 30 US dollars. As an economy right now, at a push, we're talking about $5. If we ramp up to something like $20, it becomes easy to attract investment in this space. It becomes easy to expand networks so that we get everyone connected. But all these things, like we have all seen here, they are linked. Economic activity, ICT penetration, expansion, and also making it available to everyone. All these activities are linked, and we want the ICT companies like ourselves and other players on the market to continue to actively play in this market and ensure that we understand that our role is to enable the economy, and who continue to make sure that the economy is oiled, is enabled through ICT connectivity.
Thank you for your response, Mr. Chikoto. Thank you so much for tackling that question. I'd like to say, I think we've come to the end of our discussion. Thank you very much to Tinashe and Graduate, and to you, Mr. Chikoto, for participating in this discussion. Thank you so much to our viewers for watching. We hope you enjoyed it. Remember to use the hashtag #TheDataShift and weigh in. What are your thoughts? What do you think we need to do? Do you think internet is too expensive? Do you think it's not expensive enough? Do you think we need to do more work? Is this a conversation that maybe you feel is not relevant? Is it very up in the air? Well, it's up to you, but I feel the future of work is actually now current. This is discussions we've been having since April of 2019. We've been having these discussions. Mr. Chikoto, you were there at the very first AfriDigital talk, where we were talking about what's happening right now. The future. So you look at this conversation and think it's a little bit far-fetched, but you never know what's going to happen tomorrow, and things don't always turn out the way you think it's going to turn out. So maybe let me ask everyone to just quickly give your Twitter handles or where people can find you online so that they can engage with you and continue to have this conversation. Mr. Chikoto?
My Facebook is Edward Chikoto. You can find me there, and my Twitter handle is at Edward CHK. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Tinashe, your Twitter handle, please, so that people can speak with you. Oh, we've lost him. Okay, all right. I'll try and get that for you. Graduate, please, could you share your Twitter handle and where people can find you on Facebook? Oh, I think we've lost him as well. Okay, well, I'll put the details up on the screen of everybody's handles. But thank you again so much for tuning in and for listening. This has been the Data Shift. My name is at Miss Aura, and that's MS_AURRA, and I'm here on behalf of AfriDigital, which is AfriDigital ZW on Twitter and Facebook and all these other platforms. And it's been an absolute pleasure to have this discussion. Look out for more conversations under the Data Shift series, and please weigh in on this conversation. Please send through your input, and we will definitely include it in our next talk. Thank you so much for tuning in, and until next time, cheers.